You know what really pisses me off? Age. Well, not age itself, it's like certain places that need certain strict age requirements, like churches or movie theaters, those kinds of stuff. Like, I know they have like certain age requirements on like certain ratings for movies, but none of the people like obliged to that because they always think like, oh, I'll just cover the baby's eyes, my little brother or my little son's eyes during the gory parts. Yeah, until you forget, and then they get nightmares, and then you'll be arrested for like poor and child care. Like, there are certain places which I think need certain age requirements, like 100%. Not maybe 100%. That's kind of an exaggeration, but basically, like, this happens all the time. Because whenever I go to church, and I mean during on the holidays and stuff, like religious days, like, I always expect to try and like have a nice peaceful time in the church. But unfortunately, there's like a whiny little baby in the background. I have nothing against little babies, but really? Did you really have to take the baby to the church? Why couldn't you just leave the little runt with a babysitter? Or you stay home, skip church for one day. It's not going to kill you. I mean, seriously. What is with parents nowadays taking their kids to like places that need quiet? It's not subtle enough. If you're thinking that babies should go to church to like learn holy stuff, guess what? Their brains are still young. They're still at the learning stage of like learning how to behave like a little playful little baby. Those little kids need to learn how to play. When they're old enough, then they can probably go to church and learn things about the Lord and God and Jesus and stuff like that. I mean, I don't have any problems with like little kids being in like church. I mean, my little brother is in a choir and he's a really good singer. But back to the point, what I'm trying to say is that if you're going to bring your child to church, please, just please tell me this. Please tell me he is like a legitimate age where he can go to church and behave himself and stay quiet, because like I've seen a number of kids that are like that, just like sitting down, behaving, and just just doing what their parents tell them to. Little babies, that's a different story. I mean, they're whining and crying because they want attention. They don't want to be left behind by their parents. They need attention. But in a church, that's what I call the bad place at the wrong time. Because like little babies need attention, but only at home or schools and stuff. But if you're going to take the little baby to church, then I have to say that's a really bad idea, because like I kept on getting grumpy every time I heard that little baby whine and cry. I just literally wanted to say to the woman, lady, take the little kid outside and don't bring him back here if he's going to make noise. It's annoying. I have nothing against the little tyke, but you have to take him back home. If you can't have the baby stay quiet in the church, then take him back home. If you miss one day of church, so what? You'll make it up for it. It's not like God's gonna kill you for not going to church because you have a little baby in the house. Basically, that's what I would say to her. I mean, I wouldn't say it word for word, but you get the idea. And there are also places like in movie theaters. This is like we're going to like the movie theaters now, because like whenever like there are like irresponsible parents that want to see a rated R film, but they have to watch their little boy or possibly little brother, like sibling or parents, whichever kind, there's always going to be like an irresponsible one lurking around. They're probably gonna be like, hey, let's go to the movies. I want to see this movie, rated R. Your little kid's like saying, no, it's too scary. I don't want to go to that movie where it's scary. And then the big guy's gonna like, oh please, don't be such a baby. You know what? I'll cover your eyes. Next thing you know, come out of the movie theater, he forgets to close the eyes and like, I'm gonna have nightmares for weeks. See, this is the problem with like people nowadays. This is like going back to like my child abuse and children control rant back because like bringing that back here, I'm saying like parents and siblings need to look out for each other, and like they need to realize that there are certain places where a strict age requirement is necessary. If this happens in carnivals, and like they keep the strict age requirements to the direct level. Movie theaters, not entirely to the direct level. It all depends on like the parent. But for churches, they don't, because the church like has openings for all ages, which I have to admit, God forgive me for saying this, I really don't think little babies should go to church when they're going to be that noisy. Unless they're going for a baptism, then I can understand. Oh my God. Because, like, I'm still getting the headaches from, like, the memories of, like, listening to the little baby squeal, and it starts to annoy me every time. Basically, the message what I'm trying to say is, if you have a little child, if you're a parent and you have either a son or a daughter that's like at an infant level and you go to church, please, I ask you, please do not bring your little baby to church. There is always going to be a chance every time that he or she will whine their ass off. And just to make it clear, I have nothing against little children. They're cute, they're adorable, they play like little children, and that's how they do. But please, could we all just set a strict age requirement? And I'm saying this message to the church. Please, put a strict age requirement on the church. I don't want to hear the little babies cry anymore during a place that echoes. It's so ridiculous. And it's also embarrassing to you. I don't want you to get embarrassed. I want you to enjoy your time at the church. But how can you when your little child is screaming for attention? And the same thing for the movies. If you have a child, or possibly if you're a sibling, don't go to a rated R film. Because you don't want to give the little child nightmares. And that's the same thing for the little children too, just for the record. If you children are watching this video, which I hope you're not, don't go to a rated R film. Do not provoke your family or your older siblings, because you'll regret it in the end. In fact, everyone will regret it in the end with total embarrassment or total shame. Because I don't want that to happen, alright? This is what really pisses me off. Places that don't have certain strict age requirements. That involves the church. I still think it should have a strict age requirement. And that is what really pisses me off.